You know, most people look at everyday carry as a collection of cool gear, at least those that like to collect crap. A shiny titanium flashlight, a custom pocket knife, a minimalistic wallet. But if you look closely at the guys who actually have their lives together, the guys who solve problems before they become disasters, you realize their EDC isn't about showing off, it's about strategy. Smart guys don't care just because they follow rules that make their pockets damn near a command center. Let me give you 5 EDC rules that smart fellas live by, and it makes their lives that much easier. Number one, the multiple utility rule. That doesn't mean you have to carry a multi-tool. However, if you carry a specific item, it better be damn good at whatever it's doing. You carry a bottle cap lifter, it bet not slip every now and again. It may not be the wrong angle. It may not be something that, I wish I wouldn't have purchased this. You carry a pocket knife. Yeah, it would be kind of crazy if you spend $1,000 on a flagship smartphone and then you spend $5 on a gas station knife and you're surprised that your knife don't cut. It don't cut so good. Okay, so sometimes it makes sense that if you're going to carry an item that serves a singular purpose, that item is able to do that singular thing very, very well. Carrying a very cheap pen that may leak ink or may snap in half if you use too much pressure, maybe you don't want to do that. If you do have something that's not very good at what it does, you may want to consider carrying something that's multiple use. Maybe you do carry a multi-tool, because if your knife kind of sucks, your scissors kind of suck, your pry bar kind of sucks, at that point you might as well get a multi-tool that's like it's a kind of jack of all trades, the master of none. It doesn't really matter what you decide to do with it. That's what I would almost categorize most multi-tools, is that they're kind of good at doing a lot of different stuff, but they're not going to be the master of just doing something specifically, no matter what you like to do with them. If you decide to carry tools that cross function, you will reduce the weight in your pocket. I don't particularly like to do that every single day. I do normally like to carry me a knife that's real good at knifing, a flashlight that's real good at flashlighting, right? But I don't tend to carry stuff that's mediocre. I don't, the best selling pocket knife on Amazon, I think, is made by Smith and Wesson. It's like it has a little bit of serration. It has a plain edge. I used to own it. It's a decent knife for the first few weeks you have it, but you're gonna have to sharpen that shit a lot. A dull knife is a dangerous knife. I don't have time for that. So if mine has single use, my shit's gonna be smoking hot. Number two, this almost sounds like it goes against my 5 EDC rules that every guy breaks. Two is one is none. But I'm talking about analog versus digital. I'm talking about relying on one type of asset. I'm not saying carry 2 pocket knives. Two is one is none. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that if you're going to rely on your cell phone for note taking purposes, for communication purposes, you should probably have an analog backup. Okay, so maybe you, every now and again, you might want to have a pen and pad with you just in case you want to be able to leave a note or something on someone's windshield. They left their back hatch open, they left their door unlocked, they left their lights on. You can't really do that with a cell phone, can you? If your cell phone dies or doesn't have an accurate signal, that brings us to today's video sponsor, which is Ver and their analog backup, because I'm going to tell you right now, the C4 Tactical Field Watch is the perfect analog backup that you won't have to worry about, because it's going to last way longer than any of its digital counterparts. This thing here is powered by light. So if you want that analog backup, you want that reliability, you're going to get that here, because 6 hours of sunlight gets you 6 months of reserve time. This movement is powered through light, so you're going to have just a very dedicated way of being able to get yourself out of a jam. Gonna know what time it is, be able to find south. Fantastic lume on this bad boy. I think it looks good on the wrist. And when I say you're looking for an analog backup, I really do mean that. Even if you are the type of person that carries a smartwatch every now and again to the gym or on a hike or on a walk, you should probably peel that thing off and let this be your mainstay, or at least be your backup, because this 10 atmospheres of pressure, this sapphire crystal glass, much better than the Gorilla Glass Victus that they're putting on smartwatches nowadays. Plus, you get 2 watch bands, and I think it looks damn good. Check the links down below, and shout out to Ver for sponsoring today's video. But the two is one is none. is not necessarily duplicating the exact same item. You really want to think about, do I have an analog backup, a physical backup to this thing that I'm doing? I think that that's important for me. And if you live by that, I think it's going to work out really, really well for you. Let's think about the cost per use rule. A lot of times you may see someone that shows you a high-end knife, high-end flashlight, and you just say, there's no effing way I'm ever spending that type of money on that. And I can understand that type of language, but why do you spend, and I'm not saying you specifically, but why does one spend $1,000 on a high-end smartphone that they may replace literally in 2 years? The utility of that may not make as much sense as if you spend $100 or $200 on a pocket knife that lasts for 15 years. Whereas if you're exchanging out a smartphone every 2 years, the cost per use is significantly more for a smartphone than necessarily spending $200 or $300 on a pocket knife. You really need to think about the cost per use for a specific item that you purchase. If you touch something multiple times a day, I would say 10 times a day, I would advise you to spend a little bit more money on it. For me, I prefer to spend a little bit more money on my knives because I use it all the time. Maybe in second place would be the flashlight because I have a lot of kids and I have a big ass house. I'm using it all the time. My wallet, maybe I touch it twice a day. You know, most of the time I use tap to pay, but I have an analog backup, which is a wallet. But maybe I'll decide to spend a little bit less on a wallet because it doesn't necessarily matter as much, because the cost per use doesn't really make a lot of sense for me. But if you decide to spend $100, $200, $1,500 on a beautifully machined anything, whether it's a bolt action pen, a knife, a flashlight, if your cost per use doesn't justify it, you better be a collector. Because if you only use your knife once a day and you spend $1,500 on it, then your cost per use is through the freaking roof and you're not being a smart guy. But if you're the same guy who spends $1,500 on eBay because you really want that Chris Reeve knife that's going to be 6 months out and you're going to use it 18 times a day, literally you're getting more value than the collector. So cost per use is going to be something that you need to think about. If it costs you pennies per day for 15 years, buy once, cry once. That's what I'm going to say for that one. An ounce of prevention over a pound of cures. Number 4. You know, one thing about this is that if you have yourself a compact first aid kit, just that having that little bit of prevention is going to save you a headache in the long run. Having it well organized, knowing exactly what's inside of it, whether it is, you know, ways to wipe yourself in an emergency or some gauze or some band-aids or an Israeli bandage, you may decide that this ounce of prevention is going to save you a huge headache and be worth a pound of cure in the future. Now, a lot of times we think of that of like ounce of prevention, meaning clean my equipment or maintain my shit. Yeah, that could possibly be the case. But what I'm thinking about is if you're having a survivalist mindset, then you're going to be prepared for that eventual situation. Even if you're putting yourself together like an EDC urban pouch or something like that. Even if you have this ounce of prevention with this urban pouch, make sure everything in here is good to go. Make sure knives are sharpened. Make sure your fuel sources are ready to go. If you have a butane lighter, make sure you have everything in here that's charged and ready. Because if you're doing that stuff, if you're doing preventative maintenance, when the cure needs to happen, you're going to be prepared and you're going to be ready to rock and roll. But the last thing kind of goes with, even with that prevention, you need to audit your gear. You need to have a contextual audit of your gear. You know, the other day I went to a gala, and to that gala, I took a gentleman knife, very small. I think it was by CRKT. It fit in the breast pocket of my double-breasted tuxedo. I took a very small and petite tiny 3 flashlight by Nikkor, and I took a wallet. I didn't have a multi-tool on me. I didn't have a big, huge butane lighter. I didn't have anything that was going to be big and bulky. It just wouldn't have fit the event, but I still wanted to make sure I had my gear with me. That's an area where I could do a contextual audit of knowing what makes sense at a gala when people are wearing a black tie affair. Opposite end of the totem pole, you know, I've been helping with the renovation of my pool and the renovation and the building of my fence. And every now and again, I'm getting out there having to use a dolly or having to help or having to make sure a sensor's lined up for my gate, or I'm helping them prep the side of my pool. In those cases, I can use a big old Wampin Benchmade Adamas, or maybe I want to have a multi-tool on me, or maybe I'm going to have a big beefy flashlight just in case it becomes twilight and I want to be able to illuminate a specific area of the build. A contextual audit is something the smart guys do. A lot of times you say, oh, you only need one everyday carry. That may be true for you, but me with 5 kids, a house that I'm trying to maintain, a job, sometimes I need to audit what I'm doing that day so that I can make sure I curate my carry for exactly what I'm going to be doing. Those are the 5 things that I follow that makes me a smart guy when it comes to EDC. But here's the thing. What am I missing from this list? What is something else that makes you a smart guy when it comes to your everyday carry or when it comes to the preparation of your gear? I would love to know what your comments down below. Also, listen, hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of the battalion. Yes, I would love to have you join. Check out the videos. And if this is your first time stopping by, well, thank you. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.